Martin Bakole is a serious problem in the heavyweight division. He destroys Jared Anderson, and he was tipped to be America's next heavyweight king. The way Bakole took him apart, he's made me a huge fan because he makes it look so easy, effortless. The way he puts his punches in bunches. He's got great speed, good reflexes, good head movement. He's got good power. He just makes it look like a walk in the park. But don't get me wrong, Anderson had success, but he just looked like a boy against a man. Bakole, he's 6'6", he has a reach of 82 inches, he's 280 plus pounds, he's an absolute monster. And like I said, when he puts his punches together, it's effortless. It's not like he's trying to deliver power punches. He's just so relaxed and letting it flow. He's able to generate so much power. When Bakole dropped Anderson in the first round, it was the beginning of the end. And it was the uppercut that done the damage. And I always say uppercuts are dangerous punches because they're hard to defend and you don't see them coming. And it's always the punches you don't see that do the damage. And Bakole doesn't just throw ones and twos. He throws 5 and 6 punch combinations. So when he has you hurt, he doesn't let you off the hook. And it's pretty rare in heavyweights these days to put punches together the way he does. He reminds me of the likes of Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe. Jared Anderson done well to get up and continue. But unfortunately, it was an uphill battle. When he was put down again in round 5, I wouldn't have said nothing if it had been stopped. And when he was put down for a third time, I definitely think it should have been stopped. I think it was very brave refereeing. In my opinion, it was bad refereeing because you're playing with a man's life. He's a young man, he can come again. Why should he sustain more punishment than he needs to? There's been a lot of comparison made between Bakole and George Foreman, and I do kind of get it. Both giants, in the way they put the punches together in an effortless manner, the way they stand quite upright, and the way they throw the punches, almost like arm punches at times, but seriously powerful ones. And the way they walk around the ring, you know, they don't keep the traditional stance. They just walk around, almost like they're walking down the street. I think Bakole, in some ways, is better. I think he's got faster hands, better punch selection. I think he's got better defense. I'm not saying that Bakole is better than George Foreman, because Foreman was in an amazing boxing era. He's an absolute legend of the sport. It's more of a compliment to how good Bakole actually is. All of the sparring stories about Bakole, I kind of believed before, but I'm now definitely a believer. He's got such a hard style to deal with. He's a man mountain. He's so relaxed. He throws so many punches. You know, he's got a decent defense. He's got power. He's a nightmare for any heavyweight. You can see why when he was brought in for sparring, why they got rid of him or didn't ask him back. Because in the lead up to fights, you need good, hard sparring. But what you don't need is to be getting beat up every day, because all that's going to do is ruin your confidence. And Martin Bakole is that good. That is likely what was happening. Dave Allen, who I brought on in my last video, he sparred everybody. The likes of Fury, Usyk, Anthony Joshua. And he said Martin Bakole, he's never sparred anyone quite like him. He said the way he throws his punches, the way he puts them together, there's no one like him. I think before this fight, everybody underestimated Martin Bakole because of his loss to Michael Hunter. And Michael Hunter is a good fighter. And Martin Bakole was only 25 at the time. It was a long time ago. He's improved a lot since then. Bakole now is a different fighter. He's physically and mentally matured. His partnership with trainer Billy Nelson has been amazing. They've worked extremely hard, sparring all over the world, working on the craft, waiting patiently for the opportunity. And when that opportunity arrived, they grabbed it with both hands. And I believe Bakole is one of the top 5 heavyweights in the world. And what's next for Jared Anderson? People thought he was the next American heavyweight king. He's definitely got time on his side because he's only 24. And that's young for a heavyweight in boxing. He just needs time to mature physically and mentally. Because for a heavyweight, he's very athletic. And he's got loads of natural ability. He's got good movement, good speed, good defense, decent power. He just needs time to mature, like I've said. Unfortunately, at heavyweight, the guys are huge. You can have all the natural ability in the world, all the skill, but if you can't physically impose yourself, it's no good. We have seen in previous fights that Anderson has technical flaws, and he's struggled to make adjustments. Most noticeably against Charles Martin. In that fight, he was hurt quite a few times, and he really struggled to make adjustments. He came through it, but he struggled. And since that fight, I haven't really seen any improvement. He hasn't addressed the issues, worked on his weaknesses. If he does want to get back in the mix with the top heavyweights, he must address his mistakes. I don't think he should rush back into big fights. He should have some time away, work on his craft, and also get in the strength conditioning gym and work on his physicality. And like I said earlier, he's young for a heavyweight. He's only 25, so he's got time to mature. Matchmaking in boxing is everything. And I think this fight just come too early, which is difficult when you get big opportunities and life-changing money. And boxing right now is all about 50-50 fights. And there's also the question, how much does he want it? Because I mentioned in my previous video, he's got a mental weakness. There's a video of him crying to Roy Jones because he's struggling with the pressure.
But it's the pressure though. I understand the pressure.
And Roy Jones is trying to comfort him and give him words of wisdom, which is madness, because boxing is all about pressure. So if you can't handle pressure, you're in the wrong sport. It's that simple. Martin Bakole shocked the boxing world. Well, that might be a bit extreme, but he announced himself as one of the top heavyweights in the world. And I would love to see him fight the likes of Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, and Tyson Fury. But these guys are tied up. AJ versus Dubois, Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. So right now, realistically, I would like to see him fight Big Bang Zhang or Joseph Parker. I think both great fights. And before this show, I would have said Andy Ruiz. I was really disappointed with Andy's performance against Israil Miller. And by the way, I think Israil Miller was robbed. He had Andy Ruiz on the back foot all night. He threw more punches, he landed more punches, and I don't like to say it because he's a drug cheat, but he did win the fight. He just struggled to keep the 300-pound Miller off, and that's because of the inactivity. Because he just wasn't match fit. And at times, Andy Ruiz did show his class, his speed, and his punch selection, but unfortunately, he couldn't sustain it. At his best, I am a fan. He's got an exciting style, he's explosive. He could give any heavyweight on the planet trouble. But unfortunately, in recent years, we haven't seen it down to his inactivity. Ever since he became the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world, beating Anthony Joshua, it's all been downhill. It's a classical case in sport. You're so determined and motivated to become champion. When you finally get there, it all disappears. It's hard to get to the top. It's even harder to stay there. At times in the fight, you could see that Ruiz was feeling sorry for himself. In fairness to Miller, he did get himself in good shape, and he showed a good engine. And all he done is set a pace that Andy Ruiz couldn't stay with. It wasn't textbook boxing. It was toughness in one guy outworking the other. And sometimes that's all you need. Ruiz normally fights on the front foot, and Miller was able to push him back. And that's great tactics when you can do that, because normally front foot fighters aren't as effective on the back foot. At the end of the fight, Ruiz was quick to jump to the mic while Miller was being interviewed to show everybody his broken hand. He claims he broke it in round 5, and if he did, fair play. He done well to continue, because a 300-pound man trying to run you down and you've only got one hand, it's a difficult task. So fair play. The bad news is, it was hard enough before to get Andy Ruiz in the ring, and now he's got a broken hand. That means more time out of the ring, more inactivity, and more weight gain. Myself and a lot of people were already questioning his motivation because he kept cashing himself out of fights. And now he's got this injury, it certainly won't help. The heavyweight division is great right now, and I'm really pleased that Martin Bakole is part of that mix, because he's been patient and deserves it. Let me know what you think and who Martin Bakole should fight next. Please like and subscribe and go watch this video next.